Welcome back to This Week in Events for Friday, 31st of October, hosted by Bob Tooby.
Thank you so much. And we also have Paul Richardson with us today.
Good morning. Fun. Spent most of it chasing Parcelforce, trying to get our stand for Event Tech Live in a couple of weeks. The vagaries of the tracking system with Parcelforce, where things wink in and out of existence miraculously in front of your eyes. That's been my biggest preoccupier this week. But otherwise, pretty good. Oh, and coming out the right end of man flu. That's the other thing.
Oh yes, you survived that. Yeah. And Christina O'Connell, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed for me. But I am looking after my neighbor's cat, so I have a new companion. So that's been about the high of my week this week.
I know. Before we started talking, we said we're not going to mention Halloween, but it is Halloween, and now you have a companion cat. Is it black by any chance?
No, it's not.
Not a black cat.
No, not a black cat. No, it's a white cat.
Okay. Right.
And how are you, Bob?
Oh, well, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, it's been busy, very busy. So, just trying to keep up with the. It's a very curious time of year because to some extent, news is sort of slowing down a bit, but then all of a sudden it comes as a flood. Like everybody's been waiting for things to happen, then you suddenly get a big flood of press releases. So obviously hospitality's gone a bit quiet. Event tech's gone quite quiet. With one or two important bits happening. But apart from that, yeah, it's not been too bad. Oh, of course, another thing is quite interesting for anybody who's been using AI, and also any Amazon services, you may have experienced yet another hit.
Yeah, Microsoft were down as well, weren't they? They had they declared an outage during the week as well.
Yeah, I don't know if it's down in sympathy or whether it's something else, but yeah, Microsoft Azure. I don't know if that had the same sort of effect as when Amazon went down, AWS.
It kind of flags up a little bit that these things aren't invulnerable. And I know there'll be people running around in the background, shoring things up and trying to find out why they went down. But it does kind of start to make you realize perhaps the old days of having your own servers running your own thing with your own hardware that you could actually manage, control, and keep an eye on weren't all that bad. The rush to cloud may have been a little bit premature in some areas.
Yeah. Of course, the other thing, well, most people are using the cloud services for data storage, like Google Drive,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So if you lose access to your storage service, which you might be sharing with team members, if that disappears, then yeah, that's not great. So I think most people now are using cloud as using it as a place to store files, but they're also making lots of backups on external drives, and they're using more than one service to make sure their data is protected and kept safe, which is always a good thing to do anyway.
Yeah, I think it's probably brought back people's ideas that you may need to store data locally as well as on the cloud.
Yeah.
Or at least backup locally.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, talking about tech, actually brings us into kind of like the first story, which is yours, Paul, about
intellectual property rights and copyright theft and patent infringement. Something that's close to heart at the moment because, just to take Jill's role as name droppers, we're just working with a client called Guardware, who's very specific. They have a product that we're launching called Design Protect, and it actually protects CAD files. There's been a huge problem in IP. When you go down the subcontract route, you have to pass your designs on to somebody else so that they can understand what bit they're making to fit in the widget that you're all building together. And as soon as ever that protected little piece of IP goes outside your security fence, it's then vulnerable. and it's not even vulnerable behind your own security fence, because to quote a very good friend of mine, there's never been a wall built yet that hasn't been breached. So that's kind of quite a challenge. But there's an article in Exhibition World this month, which is really quite interesting, about how the Chinese are tackling this in their shows, because it's been a repeated problem where people see IP infringements at shows where somebody will see something and go, hang on, that's mine. How are they making something that I've got the IP rights for? And the Chinese have now, in their exhibition infrastructure, they actually have an infringement lawyer sitting on one show. They have sitting in a booth at the show where you can raise these issues. You have to present patent and IP certificates to say, this is my intellectual property, therefore this is why I'm allowed to bring it to your show. What is interesting is I've never experienced, seen, or heard of that in any Western shows. And I just wondered, with most of the shows being driven by publishers, or that's the origination of where a lot of shows came from, do the shows have the same publishing requirements? Because the publisher is responsible for what is published within their magazine and can be challenged in their channel. Does the same apply if Bob invents a widget and I go, hey, I've got the designs for that, found them in Bob's bin, I'm going to go and make another widget that's exactly the same as Bob's. So we both turn up to the widget show and both show our identical widgets. What does Bob says, hey, that's mine, these guys are infringing my copyright. Have UK organisers got the same responsibilities to their exhibitors that it would appear that the Chinese are starting to get involved in now? They're talking about actually shutting down and taping off stands and making people take exhibits off their booths. Does that apply here? Does it apply in the UK? Does it apply in the US? Does it apply in Western markets as well? I'm fascinated. I'd love an organizer to come on and talk about where that lies. It's a fascinating subject, and this article in EN, Exhibition World rather, really starts to lift the lid on some other questions. It's great to see the Chinese actually getting stuck into it, because they've had a massive problem for decades. But it's interesting to hear how. I'd love an organizer to come on and say where that responsibility lies. Does it lie with me, with the exhibitor? So Bob would challenge me, but does he have to challenge me legally, which isn't going to get my product off that stand within the 3 days of the show? Or does he have to sue me and then I can't go to the next show, but the damage is already done because I've sold 10,000 widgets off my stand at this show? Fascinating where that responsibility lies.
So there's two different approaches when it comes to IP, intellectual property. So the show can either take the sort of social network publisher point of view, is we're just a place where people share stuff. We don't have any responsibility at all, and we don't acknowledge any lawful comeback for what's been said. It's like often you see, is this the author's point of view, and that's it. Or will the show organizers police it? Basically, is what we say. Are they going to police it and make sure that everybody's behaving in a very gentlemanly kind of way?
No, not a gentlemanly kind of way. Are they behaving legally? Because if I'm taking it, there's a legal imperative there. I'm sure somewhere buried in the terms of conditions, when you sign up to a show, it'll say that you have rights to all items that you're going to exhibit, that you have the IP, you have all the legal rights to do it. But I don't ever remember reading that when I've exhibited. And we used to do 42 shows a year around the world every year. And I can never remember seeing that in T's and C's. It may well have been in there, but I mean, it ought to be right at the very top, didn't it? Especially now with the way, the ease of replication of stuff. It's so easy to copy things, isn't it? And have them made offshore, or it just seems to be such a simple process.
It is. It must be a very difficult position for any organizer. But as you pointed out, if the intellectual property theft is only identified at the show, then, as you say, it could take days for it to be removed, because you have to have the proof. There's going to be an argument, and you don't really want that happening on the show floor.
No.
So at what point does the show organizer step in, or would ideally step in, to actually do that? Is it an extra step that would put exhibitors off from turning up, knowing that they have to go through this additional process? Or, I mean, how would it be done practically?
I don't know. That's what I'd love to know. Is is that something that the organisers have considered? Is it something that they've brought in? Is it something that should be there? That's a gap. Is there already provision that sorts this out? It would be. I think it would be an interesting set of questions to ask an organizer within the podcast. Somebody come in and have a chat to us about it. So, shall we go hunt down an organizer and ask them the question?
I think we do. I think we need to go and pin them down somewhere and stick a microphone in front of them and force them to talk about it. But yeah, it's definitely it's the beginning of the next big discussion for the event industry. For
Yeah.
anybody who exhibits or runs a show, I mean, this is the extra consideration that they now need to be thinking about.
And we're going to be meeting up at Event Tech Live, and if you go and have a look at the technology that's being exhibited, I had the great fun of going through the entire exhibitor list and the last couple of days just to see who was going to be in the room with us, and the overlap of products is significant, not in terms of that they're copies of one another, but they do the same kind of tasks and roles. So the question then comes in, right, where does that how did they all think about the same idea at the same time? And if any of those are absolute blatant lifts of somebody else's, how does that get policed? I think it's fascinating. I really do. I'd love to know what the legal and moral compass is on all of this.
Is there any, do show organisers sort of limit the similar types of services from appearing? I mean, how many registration and badge printing companies can you have at a show before it becomes silly?
Right. And what about the competition then?
Well, the thing is, you might have like 5 badge registration and printing companies, but if they're all using the same printer, what makes a difference? How would a person who's attending the show looking for a solution is going to choose? I know it's a little bit away from the copyright theft and stuff, but it is like, how does the show organizer have fair competition without having duplicate solutions? And the duplicate solutions might actually include everything's being duplicated from a other person, like IP theft. So
yes, but something tells me that organizers probably don't feel like they're responsible for what the exhibitors do at the show. Like their job is to bring the event into the place. I don't know. I feel like maybe they won't feel like it's their responsibility.
I think the difference is the organizer curating an experience for the attendee, or is it like we need as many people exhibiting as possible because we need some money?
There are 2 different types of organizers for sure, but so obviously a good organizer will want to look at these things more in depth and know what's happening at their event and at their show and all of this stuff. But some organizers might just say, well, we want all these exhibitors to be here and that's our job done.
But then they may assume that's their job done. The question is legally
speaking, is it?
Do they have a responsibility to ensure that all products that are in there I suppose it again come down to the mindset of the visitor. Does the visitor assume, and are they right to assume, that everything within that show is going to be legitimately displayed by people who own the IP rights or are licensed to display that product? If somebody writes an article for a publication that says this product is it's unique. Though so many people use the unique word, but
Yeah.
editors worth their salt will say, actually, is it? Can you evidence that it's unique? Or if it's the first, the biggest, the largest, great, lovely claim, fantastic. Evidence
Yeah,
that, please.
exactly.
That's the editorial control over the publication. The Advertising Standards Authority monitor what's put into advertising. So if I put a note up that said Vivid Ink is the only PR agency in the events industry, well, the ASA could come and jump all over us because clearly we're not.
Yeah.
But how does that apply to the wild west of the exhibitions industry?
That's a good question, but at the end of the day, does the attendee care? If you think if you've got an article online that's been duplicated across different publications, it's the same wording, it's just been copy and pasted, it's on multiple websites. When the person's reading that article, they're going to go, well, this is really interesting, I really need to know that. Do they then have any concerns about where it's first published? Is this a duplicate copy somewhere?
No, because I think a news release or something like that is sent out with the intention and with the full knowledge that it will be replicated and reproduced. What we're talking about is something that is a product of a company that is protected by intellectual property right.
What I'm trying to say is the attendee is going to go to a show. They're going to look at 5 duplicate solutions because they're a copy of a copy of a copy. End of the day, is the attendee going to go, well, this is reasonably priced and fixes my problem, I'll go with this one? Do they have any concerns about whether it's that any dodgy dealings have been going on, and will they get embroiled in it because they've bought into it?
They will do further down the line. Case in point, a school friend of mine runs an engineering firm in Sheffield, and they make guillotines for cutting up steel bar. And they had a Chinese company come to them with a replica of one of their patented guillotines and said, here we go, we can make this for you. We're going to either, you can buy it from us, but we're going to put it on the market and we're going to sell them. And when they ran them through the tests, they'd replicated the look and structure of this thing absolutely perfectly, but the cutting blade was the same steel that they were trying to cut. Same grade steel. It wasn't high performance cutting steel, tool steel. So when they used it, it basically just buckled the blade. And that problem is if the customer buys it thinking that it is fit for purpose, and it's not because it's a replica that doesn't either have the right bit in or the right part or isn't quite configured how it should be, where does that, I mean, there's caveat emptor that you can bring into this, but I would say if I went to a show, I would be expecting to see things that were bona fide, vetted and true. I wouldn't be expecting to go to a commercial show to buy something and find out that it was either a cheap fake or a rip-off, or when you come to have, again, in things like software provision, does it have support behind it? Who's supporting it? Where was it from? Is the company that put it on sale basically a ghost company that will disappear overnight once it's sold 10,000 copies and scarpered with the cash? I think the consumer has, or consumer or business consumer has some right to expect some degree of what's the word I'm looking for? Validation to have happened before they go to a show.
Yeah. Again, as you said earlier, with an organizer would it would be appreciated if an organizer could come on, join us, and not exactly get grilled, but to have some to discuss all these points and actually say, well, this is what we do, or this is or we've never thought of it this way. So
Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A. Yes, I think that'd be good. Yeah, very, very interesting. And as like most things, it's the developing story, and I think there's a lot more going to happen. And again, if you're competing with a Chinese company who's trying to duplicate, I won't use the word rip-off, though it is a rip-off, trying to duplicate what you do with your products and services, I mean, if they're doing it in China and you're in Europe, you can't do anything about it, really.
Mm.
So
You
maybe
might not
down to
even
the
know about
organizer.
it.
Well, that's it. You may not know about it, but it's up to the organizer to take notice and maybe.
But is it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna feature an article in a magazine that's either duplicated or insults or it's just generally not,
Yeah,
you have some responsibility to the
responsibility.
reader to
Mm.
feature truthful stories. And I
I
think that's
think
what.
I think publisher for sure. But like, I don't know if you're just an organizer and you have so much to do to organize the event. I don't know. I'm finding it hard to visualize them. Obviously, they're doing all the stuff for exhibitors and this and this and this, venue, blah, blah, blah. Then on top of that, they have to, like, I guess they have to vet every exhibitor then.
Well, it'd be up to the exhibitor to do so. All they got to bring along is their license agreement that allows them to use that piece of
That's true.
thing, or copyright information, or anything that proves that it's something they were allowed to use, as opposed to, well, we found this in a bin, we've tightened it up, and we're bringing it along. So
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think it's the level of, I mean, for me, the interesting bit is the why does an organizer have lesser, as if we take your point about this, Christina, then we say that an organizer has less responsibility because they're busier. I don't think that holds water. We've got so much more to do on a show. We don't have the time, or we can't have the responsibility to make sure everything that comes into our show is bona fide and valid. I think that's really not going to wash. I think
Yeah, I don't know,
there is a responsibility, but where does it lie?
Well, the thing is, if you're going to publish an article that actually is rather nasty to somebody, and you shouldn't have published it, but you hit the publish button because you're really busy and you had to go out shopping, legally, that's just not an acceptable answer, is it?
Okay, guys, I think you're right. I mean, I'm just asking, I guess
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out, process it, because yeah, I guess it's a tricky topic, and I'm trying to visualize how it would work or how it even works. I guess I don't have enough knowledge.
But again, well, I don't think anybody's got enough knowledge right now, because
Mm,
it is something that's going to become more and more of a problem, because economically we're all scrambling for something unique and wonderful, or at least we can duplicate and use. Now,
yeah,
duplicating in a legal way, great, you go for it. But if you're just going to make a complete duplication of an online service and then say it's unique and say it's wonderful, even though it isn't and it's not unique, then you're asking for trouble. Providing somebody notices and starts asking questions.
that's true.
And it's also the bit that the Chinese, the bit that I think is interesting is that the Chinese actually tackle it on the show floor there and then.
Yeah.
So they have a desk where people can go up and say, "Whoa, they've infringed my patent. That's my product. Can you prove it? Yes, here's my patent certificate, or here's my IIP." And then they do something about it. They actually tape off the offending stand. So they take action and then do stuff forward, rather than saying, well, the show's busy, so we'll leave it for now and we'll come back and address it later. It's pretty direct.
Isn't that more of a cultural thing where they're sort of like shamed and you have to walk out the show with your stand under your arms with everybody looking at you going, oh, this was horrible. How could they? Such a shameful act.
Yeah, if people can just wait until after Event Tech Live before this comes in, because I don't really want to be carrying our stand out through Excel when somebody gets us kicked out of the show.
Oh, can you imagine walking down the aisles with a slow hand clap? Not great. All right, let's move on to the next thing. So, Christina, you've brought a story about alcohol.
Yes, or actually not alcohol.
Oh, non-alcohol, yes.
Yeah, this week's story comes from our industry friend, Robert Kenward, and his LinkedIn post. So he has shared that he has stopped drinking alcohol at events and at home. So, that's incredible in itself. But also, I mean, Bob, you and I, we've been talking about this topic for ages about not enough non-alcoholic options at events. And, I've heard it at many events too, and I've had discussions with other people too. And it always comes down to, yeah, it would be super great if there were more non-alcoholic options. However, the organizer will say, oh, but it's too expensive for these non-alcoholic alternatives. And so I really like this story because Robert has addressed it, and he's already it's obviously a topic that started a long time ago, but he's pushing this topic further and getting more insight on, okay, what are the alternatives? What are the brands? How can we get more word out about them? And how can we actually do something about it rather than offering sparkling water that never gets refilled, yet the wine and the beer keeps getting refilled every hour? So I thought it was quite an interesting story and an important one.
Yeah, it is becoming important because more and more people coming out and telling stories of the problems with alcohol and how it's affected them personally and what happens at shows, all networking events at shows. First day, 4 o'clock, the packs of beer come out.
But also, like, I've gone to multiple events, and I understand that people have to, have an event on a Monday or a Wednesday, maybe because other people are just busy on a Friday, on the weekend, whatnot. But also sometimes it's wild that you go to an event on a Monday and you're offered a champagne or a prosecco and then another cocktail, and then during dinner your wine glass keeps being refilled again and again and again and again. Oh, and then we've got espresso martinis. And sometimes it feels like it's kind of wild that kind of happens on a Monday. I mean, that's probably just me, but when I started in events, I guess I had to figure out, like, oh, I need to set some boundaries too, because it's a Monday, because it's a Wednesday, because you come to the event and you're immersed with it all around. And not so many times have I seen that, like, there are alternatives that you could say no, and you could have a funky cocktail, but without the alcohol. So I don't know. I feel like there's still more to be done.
I think you're absolutely right, Christina. And when it depends on how you view these kind of events. When we're at events, we're still working.
Yeah.
And we're in the room with clients. And our general rule of thumb is, if you're going to have something, you have one glass and then switch, because you have a professional image to maintain. And no matter how much the client is goading you to get to the sight of you throwing up in the car park half an hour later does not do you or the company you're representing any favors.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that I think Jill's touched on this a few times, it's so deeply ingrained in the culture of the events industry. Oh, that's been a tough show, let's go get smashed. And you kind of think, no, why not go and do something else? Why not do something different?
Yeah.
But just the option of, I don't know, 3 or 4 different fruit juices, because I've been to events where you come in and you say, oh, right, what can you have? And you're absolutely right. It's like sparkling water, or it's, I don't know, it might be mango juice. Oh, well, for me, that's great. I love mango juice, but somebody might not. So there's not enough there where you can have red wine, white wine, fizzy rosé, beer. The alcoholic choice is so vast that needs to be replicated on the other side of the fence to give people the choice.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
This is the problem where when you see the range of drinks available from the alcoholic to non-alcoholic, you always spot the non-alcoholic drinks because they're in cans and served in plastic cups. So it's when the non-alcoholic drinks are actually seen as not just as a viable alternative, but just another drink. You can have it with or without. And that way you're not being, it doesn't look like there's a stigma attached to not drinking alcohol. To make that worse, you serve it from a cardboard box into a plastic cup. So why not just reinforce that?
But I'd like to hear your experience, Bob, because like when you go to events, what have you been offered? Is it always sparkling water? Do you sometimes get juice? Like, I'd be really interested in your kind of experience with this.
Well, I never was much of a drinker anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
when I stopped drinking in 2018, it wasn't a sort of like a medical condition or anything. It was just, well, I don't really drink it anyway, so why not just
Mm-hmm.
don't do it anymore? So when I now go to an event, whether it's a trade show or I've been invited to a hotel for a look around or a venue,
Yeah.
if it's evening, then would you like a glass of champagne? No, I wouldn't. Do you have anything else I can have? And then they
Mm.
disappear for 5, 10 minutes while they have a quick route around the kitchen and supply cupboards to see what else they've got.
No.
But the fact that they're trying is great. Don't be wrong. I like the fact that I've been offered something as an alternative,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be something you have to go out and find. It should be there with all the other drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would actually go as far as to say, why not just serve non-alcoholic drinks from the get-go? If somebody
Mm.
wants alcohol, then please make it available, but only on demand.
Yeah. But I just can't, like, I mean, okay, maybe the price is what's stopping organizers offering it. But to me, it doesn't seem, but again, this might be like just me being naive, but it doesn't seem like such a difficult thing because, I mean, I go into the supermarket and I see non-alcoholic gins and vodkas and alternatives left, right, and center. Like they're always there. Surely it's possible. It's a possibility to create some sort of a mocktail. Maybe just one mocktail that keeps going round, one recipe for one mocktail, one alcoholic one. Is it really that hard?
There has been a pushback against the word mocktail.
Oh, has there?
Yeah, because
Oh,
it's like, again, it's attaching a stigma to it.
oh.
And also the thing about mocktails is they often place the alcohol with really sweet, sugary syrup.
Mm.
So while it doesn't have any alcohol in it, it's got so much sugar in it, it's just still not good for you.
I think, I don't know whether, and again, we need to, it's an event caterer's question, isn't it? And somebody who runs these. We did, again, a client we've done some work with in the past quite a few times, a company called Bar Motion. They run out of South Africa, and Lex Swartz, who runs it, her offering is a whole range of fruit juices and fruit mixers and energizers and all kinds of different non-alcohol based drinks, because that's their leaning. They head that way towards the healthy nutritional kind of drinks, because they do it through conferences. So if you're at a conference and you go for lunch, you probably don't want a beer or a glass of wine at lunchtime, because obviously you then hit the 2 p.m. coma and forget everything that happened in the afternoon of the conference. These are drinks designed to give you a bit of extra energy, a boost after, so they're all a mixture of various things. I don't see why there should be any restriction and why it should be such a big deal to be able to put that on for people. I think you might find that more people will be more interested in that, because it also means that you've not just killed the day after if it's an evening event. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of awards coming up in the next few weeks. People are going to go to those awards and probably get quite high spirited, and then what does that mean for the following day? Not only them feeling rough, but it's just wouldn't they want to be feeling better the next day, having celebrated just winning an award?
Yeah.
Culturally,
Is it
it's
worth
just,
it? Is it worth it really? Especially like we were talking about before, like on a Monday or on a Wednesday. You have to wake up early the next day and go to work, and you have a whole day ahead of yourself, like ahead of you. So like, is it worth doing that? I don't know.
Can you imagine the whole of the office who attended the event next day all off with, feeling so rough with hangovers that there's nobody in the office?
Yeah, well, that's another thing, isn't it? It's like, okay, you put on this really magnificent, amazing, successful event, and then everybody gets you know, a little bit drunk or whatever, not feeling great. So then the boss can say, okay, guys, you did a great job, have a day off. If they hadn't drank too much, then they could have been back in the office the next day, super happy, you know, and they could do and keep the good work up and do another whole really great day in the office. You
And
know what I mean?
even if but even if you don't want to be a slave driver, Christina, and say you've done a great job, go to the awards, have the next day off. If your next day off is spent trying to get over the hangover you created the day
Yeah,
before, it's not much of a day off, is it? It's more a
yeah,
case of a recovery day. So why not give people the option that if they don't drink, they can have a really fun day the following day doing something else, maybe going off to
true.
I don't know, go walk around the park, go for a run, go down the gym, whatever they may want to do, go out for a walk with friends.
Yeah.
That seems to me a more wholesome way of capitalizing on the success you've had the night before, rather than lying in a coma in bed trying to get rid of a headache and feel like the room's spinning round.
Yeah, it's more of a reward, isn't it? It's like, well
Yeah.
done. We will give you this day, and you can actually use that day rather than like, yeah, like you said, like you're literally just in bed, you're super sick, and you're like, why did I do this to myself? But like that's the reality, I suppose. But if more non-alcoholic options would be available, would be right in front of your, you know, your eyes, like you walk in, boom, here they are, maybe people would lean more towards those options if they would see them right there instead of having to ask all the time.
Just in brief, and just get your reactions to this. I did a little conversation with ChatGPT, asking
Ooh,
it about trends, alcohol trends in the last 6 months or so, last 6 months about alcohol consumption in the UK. According to the latest report from DrinkAware, 90% of UK drinkers say they are trying to moderate their drinking in some way, up from 87% in 2023. And the other interesting point made is retail alcohol sales volume in the UK dropped by about 2.3% in the last year. That may not sound like an awful lot, but that it does say it's about 90 million fewer litres sold, which spins my head a little bit. If 2.3% equates to 90 million fewer litres, how many litres are actually being sold in the first place? So my question is the event industry a little behind? Does it reflect the UK as a whole with alcohol consumption? What do you think?
From a personal point of view, that's at both ends of the spectrum in terms of going out and partying hard, and then less so. The arrival of children is always a good way of stopping you drinking. The last thing you need to deal with is a small child at 6 a.m. with a hangover. But in terms of those stats, Bob, I don't know. I'd like to know a bit more about what underpins them.
Well, maybe this helps. A survey by CAM Media, KAM, found that 11 million UK adults, 16% of adults, tried low and no alcohol beer for the first time in the previous 12 months, and drinking less often than monthly or not at all rose to 36%.
I think there's a bigger movement now on not drinking as much. I think
Who's leading that, Christina?
haha, the Gen Z or the younger, I don't know how to say it, the youth, the younger generation, the Gen Zs, I think, in my opinion, are leading that movement. They're making non-alcoholic beverages cool and hip, and they're very much advocating for health. I mean, you could see it in matcha latte, oat milk latte, you know, kombucha, like what can we drink that will give us energy, that will give us maybe not caffeine, but like a matcha latte, for example, it doesn't have caffeine in it, but it has something that is stronger than caffeine that will like boost your energy for a longer period of time. So I think that the younger people or the Gen Z, they're searching for these alternatives. What can I have that's not, you know, going to harm my body maybe? And I think we can learn something from them.
So they're looking for more natural
Yeah,
energy boosters as
I
opposed
think,
to
yeah, I think
concocted
so.
stuff.
And maybe they are also advocating like living in the present, living in the moment, making the most of every day. And I think, like we talked about before, how better to do that than not drink, and then the next day you enjoy your whole Saturday or your whole Sunday going for a run, like Paul said, like doing all these cool things rather than wasting a whole day being hungover in bed. So I really like that. I think it's a movement, it's getting stronger, and maybe some other generations are also kind of jumping on that train.
There's a website called alcoholchange.org.uk. Because when you started reading out statistics, I thought, oh wow, I'm gonna have a little nosy online to see what's shown here. And the general trend is, as Christina says, is down, led by 16 to 24-year-olds. Are least likely to drink regularly on a weekly basis. So 55 to 64-year age group is more likely to drink weekly. So regular pub goers, regular drinking at home. But then the 16 to 24 are less likely to drink regularly, but that is the age group that does binge drink on occasion. So they'll go and hit it hard when they hit it hard. It's the highest rates of high risk drinking, women between 45 and 64.
Wow.
Probably because most of them have been married to men for a few years, and that's the end result.
Driven them to drinking.
Absolutely. But it's quite interesting, because then does that and when Christine's talking about the kombuchas and the non-alcoholics, I see an awful lot. My two lads are in the late 20s. They are exactly what Christina says in terms of super conscious about what they drink, and they drink energy drinks, and they drink drinks that will give them fitness and health and vitality and stuff. But that also goes hands in hand, I think, with the rise in gym culture and fitness culture and all those kind of things, that people are taking more care of themselves, being more conscious about aspects of health right the way through. But those elements of binge drinking, do they, for our industry and from what Rob Kennard was saying, do they coincide with when we have a certain event, or people are at an event, or whether there's a post-show party or an awards event? Are those the points at which people hit binge drinking, and then they don't touch it at any other point? It'd be interesting to map the stats.
Yeah, there's that social side to it where, end of the first day, about 4 o'clock at a trade show, some exhibitor somewhere has hidden 6 or 7 crates of beer and starts handing out bottles. Because you're in a social situation with your peers and with your co-workers, has it suddenly become acceptable to have 3 or 4 bottles of beer and start stumbling around and embarrassing yourself? Is associated with like binge, as you say. So is that like become acceptable, and that's your permission to do it because everybody else is?
Probably. And it's cultural pressure, isn't it? One of the things as well is that a cultural shift, and looking at generational stuff. Obviously, my parents are no longer with us, but regular drinking of alcohol in the house at home would have been a complete anathema to them. It was the occasional glass of something with Sunday lunch, and that was it. Or special occasions, Christmas or something, something like that. There was never a culture of having booze in the house and drinking at home. Whereas one of my friends I was at school with, I was quite surprised. I went back to his house. His parents were a generation younger than mine, and theirs was, they returned home from work, and the first thing they did was crack open a gin and tonic. Now, that wouldn't have even occurred to my folks. First thing they would do is stick the kettle on and have a brew. So I don't know whether that is that because it's pervading every aspect of our life, that it's so normalized that we use it as a a crutch both at home and it's then the scene. It steps up at an event where people have more because it's normalized during the day-to-day activities. Don't know.
Yeah, it's become normalized if you think about it, because my parents wouldn't have alcohol at home. And if they were going to drink alcohol in the home, if it was going to happen, it would be Christmas. You know, that
Yeah.
was a time that you made a special
Yeah.
thing of it, not just a regular thing, a special thing. And if you're going to drink, again, they wouldn't do that much, but they never seem to be into pubs, but you would just have tea and coffee, other warm, hot beverages at home. And if you wanted alcohol, you would go to the pub in a social setting. So, in the first day at a trade show, it is like a pub where it's a social setting and you have been given permission to have the alcohol by whoever opened up the crate of beers. So it's almost like duplicating, replicating the pub experience.
But the real question is, do we need alcohol at trade shows? That's my thing. Do we need alcohol at trade shows? When a trade show starts at, I don't know, 10 a.m. and finishes at 4 p.m., is it normal for you to sit at home and drink alcohol between 10 to 4?
Only when I'm on a podcast with Bob.
Like, is
drive
it
people
really
to drink.
necessary?
Isn't it ridiculous?
I also think maybe this is a bigger issue with right now we have too much option, too many options, like food, like you go to the supermarket, there's so much on offer, so many different types of alcohol, so many different types of sugary things. Maybe in the past it was one brand, one thing. It was wine, it was white wine, red wine. That's it. So you choose one or the other. But now we have so many options that it's like you said, it's making it normalized, and people just can, there are no I don't know, boundaries, and you could just go to the supermarket and get whatever you want. So I think it's kind of a wider issue as well.
It's an interesting point you make, Christina, because when they refurbish local shops, especially rural local shops not far from us, the volume of floor space and shelf space that is taken up with fresh fruit and veg, one side of one aisle, and you have 1.5 sides of aisles that contain wine, spirits, booze, beer. So you walk in and you've got your canned goods and your dry goods down the middle couple of aisles. This is a little bit of fruit and veg down one side, and then this massive area where I live in a tiny rural village, and in our little co-op, I can buy wines from any corner of the globe, multiple gins, beers from around the world, but I can't buy an aubergine because there's not enough shelf space to put an aubergine on the shelf. And if you start to distill it and unpick it in your head, you can start to look at the ridiculousness of it.
Does
my opinion.
Does it show the priority of what people are leaning towards now more?
Yeah, because shelves are stocked by demand.
Well, this is a very important conversations that the organizer needs to have with the client.
Exactly.
It's almost going to be client-led, with the organizer providing very, very valid options. Not simply, well, we'll do really fancy bottles of German wine, and for the non-alcoholic, we've got a couple of cardboard boxes of mango juice or orange juice.
Water.
It all needs to be seen as equally as good, equally as important, equally valid options. If the client can lead that in some way, with the organizer providing viable options and perhaps dealing with suppliers like Bar Motion, who could say, we can do plenty of non-alcoholic options. Don't they look lovely? Oh, yes, they do. As opposed to a plastic cup with orange juice.
Yeah. It depends whether organisers see they've got is what they do driven by the demand of the consumer and the people there, or do some of them want to take a moral lead and a moral standpoint on this? I mean, if you want to see the depressing stats, is in 2023 to 24, there were 1/3 hospital admissions for alcoholic-specific conditions, with misuse of alcohol estimated to cost 4.9 billion a year to the NHS. So when you're turning around and say the consequential actions of somebody getting absolutely hammered at an award, an event, or a trade show is them falling downstairs at the tube station or walking out in front of a cab, or these are all contained within this 4.9 billion cost to the NHS.
Yeah.
And then if you look at trends in alcoholic, we'll tell a cheery bit for the end of this. Trends in alcohol-specific deaths. Our neighbours north of the wall, theirs was incredibly high. Deaths per 100,000. Theirs was 25 to 30 in the early 2000s. That's dropped significantly, climbing a bit now. But in England specifically, it's gone from just under 10 per 100,000 up to now 15 per 100,000, and that's on a growth curve, as is the same for Northern Ireland and Wales. The trends are upward. So there's an element of contributing to the national problem we have, and is there a point at which exhibition organisers, trade show organisers and conference organisers can take a moral standpoint to say, hey guys, we're going to do this, and we're going to have dry shows and dry conferences because of this as a stat, and lead from the front? What a lovely thing to see. I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, true enough. I do think putting the word dry in front of it kind of is going to push people away. Dry bar, dry conference, dry this.
I might think of the syntax might need tweaking a bit, but the concept's there.
Yeah,
a healthy conference, a healthy conference, a healthy trade show.
Yeah. Mind you, this might be a case where after the show, everybody's sober. They're going to wake up in the morning and go, oh, I've just remembered exactly what I said. I wish I hadn't said that. If you got drunk, you might have forgotten. So,
well, the strap line for this, you leave our shows healthier than when you arrived.
Ooh, now, if
that.
anybody wishes to contact Paul with regards to licensing that strap line.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to run that campaign, any organisers, give me a call. But you've got shows that are out there now that are incredibly successful, like the running show, which was all about fitness and health, and Raccoon ran a whole bunch of shows that were about the fitness end of things, about the sports end of things, and that's if that's where we're going, and if that's the general trend, maybe there is organisers need to be switched on to the zeitgeist, that if younger people are giving it up, then how do you make provision for them? How do you make it more attractive? Because the younger people are going to be the middle-aged people who are going to be running businesses and be the main consumers and decision makers. So perhaps you need to start thinking about how you bring that element in, broaden your marketing thinking.
Maybe the thing to consider is at a trade show or whatever kind of show that you're attending, is it appropriate to bring out the alcohol? Because you can imagine that 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the running show, where there has been some running around the venue and people are demonstrating the supplements and the latest shoes and sportswear. Okay, everybody, it's 4 o'clock. Let's get the bottles of beer out. Well, it's something I've noticed from my own observations. But yes, people do, after the trade show, they've had 3 or 4 bottles of beer in a social setting. And then they go, oh, should we go down to the restaurant now? So they'll have food. Well, they should do, but then they will say, oh, should we have another couple of bottles of wine with this? And it carries on. But would it carry on? Would you then go off and have a meal with bottles of wine if you hadn't started with the beer presented to you at the end of the day at the show?
Here's one back for Mr. Kenwood. We've given him a whole big PR boost by featuring him in this. Then lead the charge, Rob. Get a group of your organizer clients in a room. Get the discussion going. Get them together at maybe the meeting show or Confex or one of the other shows and say, let's round table it. Let's make it work.
Absolutely. And then you can, and I mean in his post, he does like brainstorm, like in the comments, there's about 70 comments, and then there's a big brainstorm happening when different people are saying, well, my favorite non-alcoholic red wine is this, and my favorite non-alcoholic prosecco is this. So I think that the brainstorm has kind of already started, but it would be great to just keep it up, keep going, keep moving forward with it, and like find maybe more affordable ones, and just spread the word on what they are and the brands that they are.
Just to finish up this conversation, I've been talking about this for a while, Christina.
Yeah.
So yes, it's great that we've got conversations happening on LinkedIn. Great people are chipping in with the alternatives, but we need some demonstratable action. Is demonstratable the correct word? Wouldn't it be great if an organizer said to all the exhibitors, don't bring alcohol? If you're going to bring alcohol and start handing it out to people without any controls and without anybody asking whether the premises is licensed to do so, you're not going to come back. So please don't distribute alcohol.
Yeah.
It needs to be led. It'd be great if the client could lead. Perhaps even better if the venue could lead, but the organizer needs to say something. It needs to be a cumulative effort. And I think conversation is great to have, but can we have some visible demonstrations of it in action, where somebody's come back from a show and said,
taking a stand.
Well, not just take the stand, but actually just leading the way, just opening the doors for it to happen.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be great if we saw on LinkedIn somebody say, I've just come back from an event, whether it's a conference or a meeting, whatever. It's so refreshing not to have such a range of alcohol available. I really enjoyed the alcohol-free drinks.
But also, the event isn't about the alcohol. The event is, I enjoyed the event because I met people, because I talked to these exhibitors, because I met up with an old friend for lunch, because this happened. It should never be, I went to an event and oh my gosh, the alcohol was so good, or the drink was so good. I think now
exactly
we're getting away
exactly
from...
what happens. You see it on LinkedIn, people go, what a fantastic night. I got so drunk.
Well, that's not the point of the night, guys. We're getting far from the point of events.
I know. We're getting all worked up about this now. It is kind of a complex thing.
Yeah,
but
it is.
The cure is really quite simple. Just say to people, no, we don't do alcohol anymore. And can you imagine how more inclusive your events would be? Because if you are serving alcohol or making alcohol available, the 18 to 24-year-olds might go, no, we don't want to attend because we're healthy now and we're doing better now. We don't want to be part of this. So besides, if you make a venue or an event alcohol-free, you're not saying you can't drink, you just don't do it here.
Yeah.
If you choose to drink, you can do it afterwards. Just, we're not going to start you off.
Well, it's just not, and again, depending on what the event is and where it's held and what type of event, it's whenever you pass registration for whatever it is, or the access or the ticketing barrier, from that point in, it's dry. Whatever you do outside, and you won't be allowed to bring it in. I mean, that happens. That happens already, doesn't it? You go to venues for live events, and you're not allowed to carry a crate of beer in or a bottle of whiskey. But it shouldn't. I think Christine's point's that the most valid one is the event should be the high.
Yeah.
That should be the thing that gives you the buzz, that you come out and you talk about the next day. Did you see? Were you part of? Were you standing next to? Did you hear? That's what, not, I can't remember what I did last night. That's not the objective. The objective is to put an event on that people are going to walk around and, well, I know the objective is to generate cash, but what you want is it to do more than that, don't you?
The experience, like we've talked about before.
I think we're going to bring the episode to a close. I wish I could bring it to an end with a much happier thing.
Well, there is.
No, it is.
Yeah, let's find an organizer who wants to do it.
Yes, we're definitely. So if we don't find one, we're going to wander the halls of ETL and just pick on people. So there we go. But anyway, yes, alcohol. It's a discussion that's been going on for years. It will carry on. let's hope the nature of the conversation changes to a more positive thing for the industry. That's it for the episode. We're not going to go any further than that.
Excellent.
So thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Pleasure, as always.
We've been saying this during the episode. We want organisers to come back about the issues of IP infringement. We want people to come back and talk to us about the alcohol. Now, if you want to send in a message, you feel free to contact any of us on this episode and express your thoughts and concerns. We need to, the best way we can discuss and reflect on what the industry is doing is by the industry telling us what they think about what's going on. So please interact with us, come and talk to us, and let's keep the conversation going about these important points. So again, thank you both, and let's do it again next week.
And cut.
This Week in Events is a production for the EPN Journal podcast. A huge thanks to our patrons, partners and industry friends for helping to make this possible. Details of how you can be a patron are in the show notes and on the EPN Journal website. Thanks for listening.